Hello, you sparkling, bright, love filled souls that you are. Daniel Lovett here. We're going to start with the word of the day. I looked up this one just because I was curious. I guess more of what I could glean from looking it up. I've heard the term before. I sort of know what it means. The word is gaslighting. Gaslighting is a form of manipulation that often occurs in abusive relationships. It is a covert type of emotional abuse where the bully or abuser misleads the target, creating a false narrative and making them question their judgments and reality. Does that help? That sounded over my head. Gaslighting is a colloquialism loosely defined as making someone question their own reality. Okay. Refers to the act of undermining another person's reality by denying facts. What's an example of gaslighting? Let's look at that. Gaslighting happens when an abuser tries to control a victim by twisting their sense of reality. An example of gaslighting would be a partner doing something abusive, then denying it happened. I don't know. Gaslighters may also convince their victims that they're mentally unfit or too sensitive. All right, I'm not sure if I have a handle on it yet, honestly. I don't think I do. We'll have to keep working on that one. Understanding that so I don't do that because it sounds abusive and manipulative. I hope you're having a good day. Mine was epic. Woke up at 5:30 in the morning, just my eyes open after a nightmare, which I'm actually grateful for. The nightmare was I came downstairs to find that my children were watching something on TV that scarred their souls, and they were all in shock and traumatized by what they had just seen. And I was in anguish. Like, why did this happen? I almost wanted to blame them, but it wasn't their fault, you know. And I think the thoughts I had shortly after waking up were, first of all, go hide the remotes. We'll take a break from media. And no, you don't have to go and watch the latest on Netflix. You don't. You don't. You don't. You don't. You don't. I've often had this thing that I tell people, and I often wonder why I don't take my own advice. I guess the advice is sound. The advice is care for your soul like you would your own child, your own toddler. Care for your soul. Protect yourself from trauma. But being the broken people that we are, the self-saboteurs that we are, with a proclivity for horror and suffering, addicted to suffering, addicted to lashing ourselves, our backs with abusing ourselves with sin, which is anything that goes against the self, as one person defines sin. I like to say sin is anything not in alignment with love. So, in which both definitions fit, because the self is everyone, the self is God, the self is you, the self is others, the self is my cat. The Lord is loving toward all he has made. So sin would be working against love in any form or fashion. So, at any rate, I think I got a picture in that anguish of just maybe how our Father's heart breaks for us in seeing us inadvertently or very advertently damaging our own souls, abusing our own souls through choices we make, through our curiosities, through our proclivities, through our sin. We can use that word now that we know what it means. All right. Sin is missing the mark. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. You wouldn't believe it. Uh, 2 nights ago, I had a dream in which I think I was being confronted with something or another, and I said, all of us have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. None are righteous, no, not one. Scriptures say, like, and I felt it so deeply, but I felt also the response of grace for that I just like burst into tears and just felt all this. Um, it was mixed with gratitude, but it was a bundle of pain and regret and gratitude. Um, and then, oh my goodness, there is nothing wrong with that. Don't let anybody talk you out of just the gospel message. I mean, what Paul wrote is sound enough for us today. Okay. I had a conversation with a friend shortly thereafter, and he's like, yeah, but you know, he who knew no sin became sin for us, though, that we might become the righteousness of God. So when are we going to own that? When are we going to adopt that as our reality, that I am righteous? There's none righteous, no, not one. Well, now I am, though. He's got a point, all right. But at the same time, it's a journey for all of us. I think we need to walk through the process of confession, and that is about being vulnerable. And we'll start with just talking about Brene Brown. Now, it's so interesting because I was chatting with my wife. I spent yesterday going through an abbreviated version of the Four Agreements audiobook. I've been through it 4 times now, and I was gleaning a lot from it. There was some certain things that just floored me every time. And of course, I divert attention away from myself, and I'm like, oh, this would be perfect for that person. Oh, I really want to tell them off. I want to, oh, that's for them. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm smart enough to know that if I see anything out there, that's a reflection of me. So if it pings, it's pinging this guy. So what was pinging me? Being impeccable with your word. There's a phrase that was used of be prepared for the words, the opinions you share. Your opinions are not indicative of reality. Felt that was very important to stress. For myself, yes, I wish to humble myself. I do, because I'm on a journey of healing, and vulnerability is the way to get there. Confession. So be prepared to have those words, those opinions be believed by others and bear fruit. Will it be good fruit or bad fruit? How has it played out in your own life? See, these are the questions I ask myself, and partly the reason why I have taken as much of a break from my podcast as I have, because I was quite concerned about a lot of the ideas that were coming forward. which I discussed with someone at church just before leaving last Sunday. And they said, well, you better keep seeking wisdom from God about that. Like, you don't believe either, do you? You don't believe me either. Nobody does. So why should anybody? Am I onto something here or not? I could tell you what it is, but at the same time, am I prepared for what I say to bear fruit in your life and in the world? Am I prepared for that to go viral like a virus? You know, what kind of disease or cure will that present to humanity? The issue is equality, and I'll leave it at that. Um, my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. And for me, it's magical. For me, the concept of equality is magical. Magical, magical, magical. In a good way. So, but vulnerability, let's come back to that. So, I'm talking to my wife about the four agreements and just mentioned, oh, yeah, this guy is claiming it's coming from Toltec wisdom and stuff. Oh, that sounds spooky, spooky. I don't think I want to listen to any of that. I'm like, oh, great. I've been gleaning a lot from this, and I can't even talk to you about any of it because you've rejected the whole of it because it's not Christian or something. He does have prayers to the Creator at the end, which I felt very moved by and stirred by, and I prayed them. It was amazing. About so good. Prayers to the Creator. I mean, it didn't mention Jesus, as far as I know, because I didn't actually I read the abbreviated version, not the full version. So I guess my frame of mind also is I don't trust anyone that doesn't trust Jesus Christ, the real one. I don't care if you say you trust Jesus and yet you prove by your life otherwise. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about tried and true. You trust Jesus. You love Jesus. Then we can you know what I mean? But still, here I am, gleaning a lot from this man, and I don't know where he stands with Jesus. And so my wife mentioned in passing, and I didn't even catch it. She said, "Oh, it's kind of like how do you handle these things that are good, and yet it's not like it's competing with Jesus' message, or is it? We have to weigh these things. We have to test all things and hold on to what is good, like the Scripture says." And is it a good God thing that this book sold 10 million copies and the Four Agreements and has become widely known? Is this a good thing for the evolution of the human consciousness uh, towards the kingdom of love and light and of Jesus Christ? I think so, personally. You know, I do. And she mentioned Brene Brown. Yeah, it's like Brene Brown, the wisdom she has to share. It went over, it just, went over my head. I didn't even catch what she said. I don't know who Brene Brown, never heard it before. I didn't even register. And then the following day, somebody sends me an email with a link to a Brene Brown video. And so I didn't even have what my wife said in my mind, but I went and checked that video out and a TED talk associated with it, which I have in the description of this video, by the way, about vulnerability. And it just floored me. It was epic. It was awesome. You're going to get so much from it. So if you want to click on it now, just stop listening to me and click on it if you want to. It's your prerogative. But I just wanted to tell you about that. Vulnerability. And it was so affirming too, because what have I been doing on this channel but jumping on live and being vulnerable with you, and modeling that, because I know this is the way to freedom. I just knew this intrinsically and I was going for it. So it's just so affirming, like, Daniel, you're doing good. All right. You know, that kind of thing. So let's revisit the four agreements. What are the four agreements? Let's look them over. First one I mentioned already, be impeccable with your words. Speak with integrity, say only what you mean. Avoid using word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others, which he calls black magic. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. Now, I said, well, if you can't say something good, don't say anything at all. I believe an angel told this to somebody in a near-death experience too. And then she said, well, what if you need to correct them? I'm like, is it our job to correct the world or to correct ourselves? I'm not even sure if I put it that succinctly. Should have told her that more succinctly, because I don't think I said or ourselves. That just dawned on me right now. Is it our job to correct others? I asked her. Oh yes, if they're in error. And I'm like, I see your point. I really want to as well, but the thing about it is, it's like, why does that ping you? That's a mirror of me. Everything you see out there is a mirror of you. If it pings you, it's you. Oh, okay. So using the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. How about truth and love to your self? Speak the truth in love to yourself. Okay. All right. Just floating that out there. Don't take anything personally. Number 2. Nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality. When you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. Can we be immune to the actions and opinions of others? Yeah. Interesting. Don't take anything personally. That's number 2. Okay, number 3, let's move on. If I have anything more to say about this, I'll come back to stuff. Number 3 is don't make assumptions. Be childlike. Ask a bunch of questions. I don't know what you mean by that. Don't you wish people would do that with you when you're in a conversation? Like, what do you mean by that? Oh, actually being good listeners, like hearing their story, the full story, without interrupting them. How about trying that for starters? And then asking questions like, oh, what do you mean by that? Like, be an explorer of human consciousness. This is you're exploring in these other fractals of you, other versions of you. We can learn a lot from each other. So be childlike about it. Ask questions. Find the courage to ask questions and express what you really want as well. What do ask for what you want. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings, sadness, and drama. With just this one agreement, you can completely transform your life. It's a good one. And then always do your best. And he stresses, don't give it your all, because when you go all out, you can burn out. He just says, do your best, working smarter, not harder kind of deal. I don't know. That was mentioned. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you are healthy as opposed to sick. Under any circumstances, simply do your best and you'll avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret. Because he says we have a judge and a victim going on in our psyche, which attempts to browbeat us into submission to the expectations of society, the collective dream that we're all part of, and no one is immune to this dream. We're all plugged into the matrix of this dream, and we learn the rules from a very early age. You know what I learned at a very early age, that I had a low self-esteem. I was taught that even having a self-esteem is wrong and bad. Okay. Hmm. I'm sure that there was some valid thoughts behind that initially. But also, um, I don't know if I believed I was worthy of love and connection. And when people don't believe they're worthy of love and connection, I'm going to venture to say it's easy to self sabotage at that point and just embrace that path of disconnection. And I was telling somebody today about how many years I spent in my Gollum cave, isolated from the world, thinking you're all better off without me. I don't want to spread the disease of my depression. Why would I want to do that? I love you. Why would I want to afflict you with me? I don't want to suck your, I don't want to breathe your oxygen. I'm stealing from you, you know? Um, yeah. So there's that. I want to tell you a story of my daughter. She's amazing. 8 years old. Took her to the dentist recently, and she's getting her teeth cleaned, and she's, oh my gosh, she's just a joy to be around. And the one doing the cleaning, and the dental hygienist, if we want to label her with a profession, she was amazing. And she just enjoyed Emma, my daughter. And at the end, she was like setting up an appointment for next time. And my Emma had her stuffed animal, little puppy, and she came over to her and had the puppy jump up on her shoulder and making little noises while it's on her shoulder. And this woman was just melting. I could feel it. But then I was scared. I was like, oh no, maybe the last thing in the world I ever would want. I want to protect my daughter. Nobody's gonna hurt my daughter. So maybe there's a part of me that was like, no, Emma, don't. I wanted to distract her from doing that so that she wouldn't say, please stop or something and hurt my daughter's feelings, you know, or something like this. So I just said, Emma, like Emma, and she was about to turn around, like, don't make her stop. No, she's like about to cry because she's just so touched and blessed by the joy of this beautiful little girl. I'm like, oh, here's your coat, and then it's like, she kind of was like, don't make her stop. Don't make her feel bad. You don't shut her down. That's what we were both trying to protect her. We were both trying to protect her at the same time. And it was just like, it was a beautiful moment. And I pray that we all become that childlike and that vulnerable to sharing that kind of joy, because that's what's open to you. You want to open up joy? Vulnerability is the way. I experience so much joy. I experience a lot of other stuff too. I mean, some of it's frustration to the point of expletives, you know, bursting out of my mouth, for minutes at a time. That happened today. But then there's peace. There's joy. There's love. There's love. So I hope you were blessed by today's session. And what else do you want to talk about? I'm game. Floor is yours. What do you want to talk about? Any questions, comments, concerns, conspiracy theories you want to talk about? Drinking some tea. I don't know if you can hear that music in the background. I don't know if that's coming through well. But playing some music. Yeah, we're pretty much done. So if you want to check out, that's fine. I think you'll be blessed by the 4 agreements. There are audio versions available. I got mine for free through the local library, Hoopla. You can check that out. It's pretty cool. You can download several audiobooks a month. And then I'm enjoying The Alchemist and Warrior of Light and the 4 Agreements. My friend's turning me on to Wayne Dreyer. Something about manifest your destiny and all that good stuff. So we'll have much more to talk about. In fact, I could go on and on about how filled up I am on just insights, revelations, and what are we feeding on? That's my question for us all. What are we feeding on? It doesn't need to be the latest from Netflix. I started watching the latest from Netflix, and it was kind of disturbing. Maybe the source of my nightmares. Which, been having some interesting demonic visitations in the night and things. But I don't know. I'm pretty well okay. Thanks for listening, everybody. I think I got to end it on a higher note than that. I've been having demonic visitations. Yeah, well, you know what? Sometimes a rude awakening happens before a great awakening. Sometimes stuff comes to the surface to be revealed by the light, to be healed by the light. Okay, there's your high note we're going out on. Whatever's bubbling up to the surface, you're disturbed by, guess what? Be vulnerable to Jesus about it. Pour your heart out to the Lord. Jesus is saying, tell me everything. And he's here to heal you. Okay? The one who never leaves you, never forsakes you. It's not like he's got a visit from some distant heaven. He's inside of you. All right? In him we live and move and have our being. It's all him. It's all us. So, have a great day, everybody.